Here's a good example of what financial literacy is. It is the ability to understand how money works in the world, how someone manages, meaning you, to earn or make the money, how you manage it, how you turn it into more money, and how you donate it to help others. That is a good example of financial literacy. And no one knows that any better than my next guest who's joining us from New York, based in Chicago. And Shannon Schuyler, who is a president and principal with Price Watherhouse Coopers, has been on this program before. And the reason she's on the program, and she will continue to be on the program, is that she represents what PwC is doing from the standpoint of being corporate responsible. This company, let me just give you this. In 2012, PwC launched Earn Your Future, EYF. It's a 5-year, $160 million commitment focused on helping students develop critical financial skills and providing educators with the resources and training to teach those skills in schools. Now, that's a very important combination. Who teaches financial literacy? The one thing that PwC realized is that teachers, you're not going to learn if teachers don't know how to teach. And we certainly don't. Do you know how to teach your kids to be financially literate? I'll bet you $1 to a donut you don't. I don't. And I'm in this business. So this is a wonderful program. In April 2015, PwC extended EYF, Earn Your Future, by an additional $30 million, increasing its overall commitment to $190 million, folks. EYF is now one of the largest and broadest corporate commitments to financial literacy within the U.S. Now, in our conversations, I would say to Shannon, what are other companies we're doing? And being the professional that she was not going to be lured into criticizing anybody. But I got to tell you, because they set the example, I recently just received this information. This comes from another company, RBC Wealth Management and City National Bank. Guess what they've done? They've done a poll, and it says, and the poll, they sent it to me, 87%. It is financial literacy an important enough skill that it should be taught alongside reading, writing, and arithmetic. Most Americans seem to think so, according to a recent survey from RBC Wealth Management, U.S. and City National Banks. They get it. Here's another corporation that says, wait a minute, we're not going to let PwC be out there by itself. But as far as I'm concerned, PwC is first in what they've done, and Shannon Schuyler is first in my life in terms of being on this show. Welcome to Home and Family Finance, Shannon.
Oh, it's always wonderful to be with you.
How was that set up for you? Huh?
I know. It couldn't have been better. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. No, I thank you for what you look. You lead the way. You shine the light. You say this is worth something. There is reward in doing what we're doing. We're not just putting $190 million out there because we want to look good. We're putting $190 million out there because it can make a positive difference in the lives of young Americans. I know this new study that you have that we're going to talk about, which was very exciting, called Bridging the Financial Literacy Gap, Empowering Teachers to Support the Next Generation. And I think that's the one thing we both have come to realize, that if we're going to make a difference, it's going to be because teachers know how to teach financial literacy. Is that a fair statement?
No, absolutely. And what we found out through this survey is that now millennial teachers, and so teachers now that are just starting their careers, they really see the value of teaching financial literacy in elementary school even far more than their colleagues who have been teaching for many generations. And so it's great to see this young, vibrant group of teachers saying yes, because we certainly know that we as millennials need help with financial understanding and capability. And so teaching students as young as we can within our classrooms is just key to making sure that there's more success and people have more understanding about the financial markets and how to really be able to save and to have a lifestyle that they want to live.
And let me right now suggest to the teachers out there nationwide, worldwide, we're not maligning teachers one bit. We know that teachers are doing everything they possibly can to make sure that their students are financially literate. But the truth of the matter is, many of us never had to learn, or many of us did not learn to be good financial money managers in our lifetime. And so we didn't quite know the best way. And if you don't believe that's true, just try to find out how many kids out there can even balance a checkbook. Now, maybe it wasn't that the teachers couldn't teach, but the emphasis was not on financial literacy. Is that a fair statement?
No, absolutely. And I think what we're finding out now is that when you think about it, you learn, as you were talking about before, math and reading and history, and teachers teach it in classrooms, and then students go home, and whether or not their parents know exactly what they've been taught, they don't contradict it. They don't see something different happening with their parents. But when you think about financial understanding, what's happening is as teachers teach it in a classroom and talk about budgeting and talking about balancing your checkbook, then they go home and they see their parents doing the opposite. That's what we're starting to realize is one of the issues why financial training within schools is harder to actually see a difference in, because students are put in a very interesting position where they're learning one thing in the classroom about all the ways that they should save and all the ways that they should make sure that they have money at times of need. But when they go home, they're not necessarily see that play out with their parents. And so because it's so different, it starts to negate what they've actually learned within the classroom, which is why this study was fascinating that said we really need to figure out how do we send more tools home with students to reach out to the parents to make sure that what is being taught is being reinforced.
Wow, that's very interesting. That so my guest, of course, is Shannon Schuyler from PwC. We're talking about this new study, and now the reinforcement that young people need when they learn what they learn in school. And now we're reaching beyond the school to the home. This is wonderful. When we come back, we'll ask her what is the state of financial education in the U.S. today and how this new idea will work and can it work. You're listening to Home and Family Finance. I'm your host, Paul Berry, here on the Radio America Network. We're all about financial literacy, and so is Price Watherhouse Coopers, and we're very pleased to have their representative here, Shannon Schuyler, who's a principal and one of the presidents there of a program that is designed, a $190 million program that is designed to do one thing, and that's up the educational level of our young people and the teachers. And now, Shannon, I find this very interesting, and you're saying, hey, how can we make sure that that students who are learning get this what they're learning reinforced at home? How do you propose to do that?
Learn how to bring the parents in. And so one of the things that we've done with our curriculum is we've had a lot of camps for teachers. And those teacher camps have led to parent camps, and for parents to be able to come because they want to learn as they have their students and their children are coming home and telling them what they've learned in class and about different types of things for financial well-being. And so they've asked us to help. And so we've done many things after school programs as well as weekend programs, and even as a part of our summer camps that we do, having both parents there as well as teachers to learn for themselves and to also then figure out how to best teach and to show good behaviors to their children and their students.
You know, Shannon, in the 8 years that I have been doing this program, which has always been the same, not political, financially based, I have been told by so many people that the problem, our educational level, our financial education level is just too big to fix. That's not something that Price Watherhouse Coopers believes, is it?
No, I mean, we really believe that education is something that's a combination of, certainly you have government involvement, you have nonprofits, but you have to have corporations as well. And more companies like ours are stepping up to say, how can we help fill those gaps? We have resources in the hundreds of thousands of people that we can bring to the table. We have dollars. We have skills and knowledge that we can pass on, and really trying to figure out how can we be a part of this is exciting. And I think one of the things now that we're really seeing as well with the younger teachers is they do a lot with really finding grant money. And so in the past, sometimes it was hard to be able to get dollars into the hands of teachers because they didn't know exactly how to use all the online platforms. Now we're seeing millennial teachers reach out and ask for grants, and now in incredibly growing rates ask for grants to teach financial literacy. So I really feel like we're at a place now of a tipping point that this is going to be seen as something that's incredibly valuable to be able to teach in schools.
Wouldn't that be wonderful if, in fact, you're right that we are there, is that we can turn that corner? Because once we turn the corner, that is to say, once we are really teaching financial literacy the way it should be taught, that means all future generations are going to come out of school with at least a working knowledge of how to protect their money, how to make the right decisions, and how to be financially fit in their lives.
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that is probably the hardest for me to understand is when you think about the barriers of teaching, the one barrier that really got to me in this study was teachers said that there's still a belief that financial education isn't seen as critical for career or college readiness, which is why their schools are not teaching it. And to me, I look at just the crushing student debt. I look at making decisions about jobs and where you're going to live, and all of that comes down to how do you have an understanding of how financially you're going to be able to do all those things. And so some way, somehow, we have to get into the minds of more people in schools that this is a life skill. This is a career and job readiness skill, because just think of all the better decisions that you can make as you build on those good behaviors. And
you've heard me say, and this points right back to what I call educational roulette. We teach our kids a little bit of everything because we don't really know what they're going to be when they grow up, when they get out there. But what's the one thing that we know they're going to be? They're going to be consumers. We know that they're going to be consumers, and yet we let them get out of school without understanding, how to balance a checkbook. It makes no sense. But the one thing we can teach them to be is what we know they're going to be. They're going to be consumers, no matter whatever path they choose, right?
No, absolutely, and that's why it's so alarming when you see the wealth gap increase. A lot of it is due to just not having an appreciation of everything you have to look at. And so it's not just about getting to college and graduating and getting a job. It's having to put all those pieces together of saying, well, what kind of loans, what are you going to do to get into college? How does that actually equate to where you want to live and the career choice that you made? And the decisions about the types of experiences that you want to have. You have to look at all these things together. And as you and I have talked, this isn't just about dollars, right? It's not just about knowing how to manage a dollar. It's about looking at the behaviors that actually guide your decisions to make sure that you're looking in the future. And I think we have to really focus on that, because one of the things we do know is the millennials, with all the incredible things that they bring to us, they want an experience, and they want the experience now. And we have to figure out how to lengthen that experience and really help them to save for the future.
Yeah, there's no question about that. What I also loved about your study is that you asked the tough questions. For instance, how comfortable would you be teaching financial education? You're asking of teachers if your school or district asked. 18% not at all comfortable, 31% completely comfortable, and what I liked is 51% moderately comfortable. What I mean is, it seems like you were saying the tipping point. We seem to be trending toward a position where teachers, a majority of teachers, are going to be comfortable saying, yeah, I can teach financial education. I can teach you how to be financially fit. And once we get to that point, then we really are turning a corner.
Absolutely. Then it's something that gets baked into not just one class that's focused on business or financial capability, but then this should be a topic that comes up when you're talking in history about the Great Depression. That's a teaching point. That's a learning moment around financial capability and the things that can happen. And the more teachers that have an appreciation and that feel comfortable in teaching it, the more opportunities to really weave it through all types of curriculum.
And not only that, the other part of this, which is phenomenal, because it does weave. Money weaves through everything. Finances, it touches everything. But also, we ought to get started much earlier, too. I mean, I don't think you can teach kids very young to at least have some sense of what's going on with their dollars.
No, absolutely. I have a 3.5-year-old, and we have conversations even around Easter, whether he wanted one jelly bean today or if he wanted to wait till tomorrow and have 2 jelly beans. And he gets that. He already gets what that means. And so it's about behaviors and choices, and we have to instill those. And really, the younger you can do that, the better off and the more understanding people really have going forward what dealing with their money will be.
Shannon Schuyler, my guest from PwC. When we come back, we'll talk about what you need to do from your perspective, that is to say, of your kids, or even you in terms of learning. More from the study and more about the business of being financially literate in the Financial Literacy Month of April. You're listening to Home and Family Finance. I'm Paul Berry. April is Financial Literacy Month, and you're listening to Home and Family Finance. I'm your host, Paul Berry, here on the Radio America Network. My guest is Shannon Schuyler, who is one of the principals and presidents at Price Watherhouse Coopers, a worldwide firm that is doing what I think any responsible corporate entity would do, and that is to say, wait a minute, you know what? We're bringing people up, hiring them, and how much easier it would be and how much better our lives would be. And how much further can we go if the people that we bring in here already have the basic financial skills that they should have to make decisions not only about their personal lives, but about the role that they play in terms of what our company does. That's got to be in the back of the minds of PwC as well, right?
No, absolutely. And we really are focused on making sure that the marketplace in general, I mean, all boats rise when people are spending appropriately, when they're saving appropriately, when they're making very wise decisions. And we really just feel like we want to make sure that our society overall can continue to progress in a successful way, but also that we find a way to start reducing that wealth gap. And part of that is educating people around their finances and how to make sure they don't get behind, which is so critical if you actually want to be able to move forward.
I know you do these studies, and I know the reason you do those studies is really to kind of get a placemat as to where we are at any given time. What struck you most about what you learned in this study, Shannon?
In comparison to other studies, there wasn't so much that was new overall. I think the barriers and a couple of those were different, but what struck me the most was just really the sentiment as I started with the millennial teachers. And, 62% of them really believe that teaching financial literacy should start in elementary school, and that's comparison of 51% of their older colleagues who don't necessarily believe that. And I think that having this group who went through a very significant downturn in the economy and actually saw the behaviors that their parents had and that other family members had really do understand that this is really behaviorally driven and are pushing more and more and asking their principals, asking their superintendents to see if they can get more training. And so they're out there now really advocating for both curriculum, both being able to go to additional outside courses to be taught, and they're becoming advocates for this in a way that we hadn't imagined. And it's a little counterintuitive because we know that the millennial generation so far has proven not to be very sound in a financial way. They tend to spend more. They're not taking advantage of things like their 401ks. They're doing a lot more riskier behavior using payday loans, et cetera. But we're finding that the teachers really understand it. And I think that's so pivotal to have that in classrooms and to have students exposed to that.
That is so refreshing. It is so refreshing, especially when you're out here saying, we've got to do something about this. And then all of a sudden you're starting to see a group of young people say, I get that. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's do what we can. The other part that's refreshing to me, and I don't know how widespread it is, and maybe you do. I know you're never going to criticize your corporate members and family, but I would hope that more and more corporations are doing what you're doing. Are you seeing a more willingness on the part of the corporate families to say, look, let's jump in here and do more?
We are. I mean, I think definitely corporations are seeing the benefits that they can provide both within the educational system and within schools, as well as things like the student loan payment program. And so we launched ours, and now other companies have launched theirs, trying to help people who come to our organizations pay off their student debt. Certainly one of the things that we hear a lot of is the debt is so crushing that when people start their careers, they just can't get ahead of those payments for about $35,000 on average they owe from going to college. And so really having companies step up, and PwC, we pay up to $10,000 of that loan off just as part of a benefit. And we think the more companies do that, the more you're able to really start people on a much brighter foot. Because that debt, which prior generations didn't have the same level of, is one of the reasons why people have gotten into worse financial shape now than before. And so I think more companies need to continue to step up to say, we can be a part of this solution.
My phone is already ringing off the hook here. People want to know, okay, you guys are paying $10,000. Hey, that's where I want to be. How do they reach out to PwC if they're interested in employment?
Oh, absolutely. They can go to our website, www.pwc.com, go to our careers section, and you can see a plethora of different opportunities that are out there. And then for those on college campuses, we also have a huge section on there that specifically is for college students.
Gee, I wish I could start again. If I could start again, I would be right there, but I guess I'm over the hill that way. Anyway, listen, what a pleasure. Always nice to have you on the show. Thank you for taking time to be with us and to explain what you guys are doing. And thank you for doing what you do and continue.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Absolutely. Shannon Schuyler, my guest here on Home and Family Finance. I hope you've learned something, folks. I hope we've inspired you to be better financial members of society. Do the right thing. Learn what you need to do and manage your money. I'll be back next week, same time, same place. Hope you'll be here. Radio America Network, Home and Family Finance. Have a good day.